Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. Megan Robinson, joined now by former All-American wide receiver for Montana, Sammy Akem. Sammy, you're here to pick some games, but first, you're familiar with the Grizzlies program. They opened their season with a 42-17 win over Central Washington. However, they were a D2 opponent. So how do you assess the Grizzlies' overall performance in that matchup?
I think you just got to look at it from an individual standpoint. Like, obviously the opponent matters, but you want to look at the team. Do they look clean? Are they executing at a high level? Are they tackling well? And that's where I think you assess when they're playing a lower competition. You got to look at the team themselves and how are they playing? How are they moving around? And break it down by its pieces. How did the linebackers play? How did the safeties play? Did they cover well? Did the receivers get all the assignments? Are they getting open? All those things are what you're looking at against a D2 opponent.
Well, what did you think of all those things that you saw in that first game for the Grizz?
They really cleaned things up in the second half. The first half was ugly. Ayat had a couple of interceptions throughout the game, and his accuracy was waned a little bit throughout the game. And then the tackling was a little inconsistent. But I think that's also something that Coach Haupt talks about all the time is, they went lighter during this fall camp, and during the offseason they weren't as heavy. So when you do put the pads on for the first time against another opponent, and when you do have to go out and tackle somebody, it might look a little ugly. Against this North Dakota Fighting Hawks opponent for the Grizz, I expect them to look much cleaner.
One of the good was, of course, Michael Wortham, transferred in from Eastern Washington. He had 240 all-purpose yards in that Week 1 win. What impact do you expect Wortham to have for the Grizz?
Man, I expect him to be everything obviously they're not going to play Central Washington every week, but the fact that they had him at the Wildcat position, I didn't even know they would roll that out as soon. People who have been to fall camp saw them running the Wildcat with Michael Wortham, but I don't know if they expected that they would run that against Central Washington. I think that shows that that's going to be a central part of their offense, getting him involved in the jet sweep game, getting him passes on the exterior, kick return, punt return game. I mean, any way you can get him involved in the game. I think he's such a game wrecker. I think he's such an explosive player. He's so fast. He's got a ton of versatility. You have to use him as a weapon, and he's got to touch the ball, in my opinion, 10 to 15 times minimum a game.
Well, Sammy, you are here to pick some games, so let's pick some games. First up, Northern Colorado, coming off that controversial and heartbreaking loss to Colorado State last weekend. They face South Dakota on Saturday. How do you think they'll fare in this one?
I know that they were very close against Colorado State, and sure, the question has to come up. Was it good Northern Colorado, or was it bad Colorado State? I don't know. I think Ed Lamb has been doing a phenomenal job building that squad up in Northern Colorado. I think he's doing a really good job bringing in the right pieces, doing the recruiting job. I am going to pick Northern Colorado to beat the South Dakota Coyotes this week.
Our second game for you to pick, Idaho. They notched their first win in the Thomas Ford era. Joshua Wood earned Big Sky Co-Offensive Player of the Week honors. This week they host Utah Tech for the 50th celebration of the Kibbe Dome. If you haven't seen those uniforms, they are phenomenal. Who do you like in this one, Idaho or Utah Tech?
Utah Tech is another school in the United Athletic Conference who a lot of people need to be paying attention to. Not necessarily Utah Tech, but the United Athletic Conference, Tarleton, Abilene Christian. That conference is on the come up. Utah Tech is looking and trending up, but I'm definitely picking Idaho in this game. I mean, Josh Wood is looking like one of the better quarterbacks in the conference, and I expect them to have a really, really big game against Utah Tech. I got Idaho and the Vandals in this game for sure.
Finally, our game of the week, 16 North Dakota heading to Missoula to take on 5th-ranked Montana. Coach Hauck said, our players are well aware of what happened last year. We want to win this time. Who do you like in this one?
Montana, and it's for a reason that I know personally. There's certain games at Montana where a black flag is flown, and that's a game where under no circumstances is Montana going to walk off that field without a victory. Given what happened last year in the Alaris Dome in North Dakota, Montana bumped their head. They took a loss, and it was a brutal loss. I expect Montana to bounce back from that game, feel the feelings of revenge, and fly that black flag in the locker room. And I expect Coach Hauck to have the boys flying around. I mean, that is a game that they need to win. First ranked game of the season. It's something where we're going to get to see what this team looks like under pressure. I think one thing that also lends itself to them and puts them in a good position is the fact that it's at home. They get it at home. They're home fans. Last year they were on the road in the Dome. This year they're in Montana, in home, get some home cooking. I like Montana to win this game this week.
Well, Sammy, it's going to be a good one. Another top 25 matchup for a Big Sky school. Appreciate you being here and picking some games. Sounds like Montana will be out for revenge Saturday in Wa Grizz in their first top 25 matchup of the season. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. I'll catch you all next week.